Good morning, I'm Sarah. I am one half of Two Pearls in a Pod, and I am here this morning just to do a kind of regular update on what I'm knitting. I've tried to film this a few different mornings. It's a race against the clock and I'm not kind of doing it early enough because it's just getting too hot at the moment, but I really want to stay outside. This is a really nice place to be, but there is no time to muck around. I've got maybe half an hour if I'm lucky, but we'll see. I'll start by saying that I'm here on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and as always, I am incredibly grateful to be here. I am going to talk about all the things I've been knitting in the last sort of month or so. It's been a while. I think I'm still in recovery mode from December, so it's actually been nice to kind of have a little bit of downtime and have a bit of time to work on some knits, get a few things sort of finished off. The first of which is what I'm wearing. I feel like I've talked about this a lot and it's sort of been in this like almost finished state for quite a while, but now I'm counting it as actually finished and I'm going to stop kind of showing it like in every video that I make. But this is my Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. This is a sort of top-down saddle-ish saddle-ish construction cardigan with the very distinct feature of this like very wide 2x2 ribbing in the neckband and then also on the cuffs, all in stockinette. I knit this using a DK weight yarn called Aveley, which is a Finnsheep, which is very sort of local to me in Victoria, Australia. And the really special thing about this yarn is that it's all hand dyed at the farm using all of the different colours are hand dyed using natural dyes. This one was using a combination of weld and indigo. And it's just made for the perfect, slightly variegated but nothing crazy green yarn that I like to this day is just like my absolute favourite. Oh my god, it's just so beautiful. It's quite woolly. I think this yarn would make a beautiful colour work yarn because it's got that kind of, it's a little bit rustic. I quite like Finnsheep. I'm quite impressed in that it's really soft, but it's got enough sort of rustic quality and it blooms quite beautifully that I think it would fill out colour work really, really nicely. So that would be glorious. This is all that I have left from my 3 200-gram skeins. I did make this pattern. I think I made it longer than the pattern suggested, but the main reason for that was that I, rather than knit it back and forth flat, what I instead did was I knit it as per the pattern up until kind of I'd finished the neck shaping, and then I cast on a bridge of some stitches in the center here and knit in the round, and then from there it made it a lot faster and a lot easier to get the knitting done because it was all sort of stockinette in the round, until I got to the bottom ribbing, where I went back and forth, and then from there I steeked these center stitches, which was possibly the most stressful thing ever because like this yarn is very beautiful, it was quite expensive, like as it should be, but there's no going back from a steek. So like I practiced steeking on my swatch first. I don't know if you can see, but I just did I reinforced each side with a really tight zigzag stitch on my sewing machine and then cut between them. I said I would show some video of me doing that, which is not fantastic footage. It's just me like having like a very internal panic attack, but I'll put it at the end if anyone's interested in just kind of watching that process. But practicing on the swatch was like a great call, I think. I didn't put buttons on this. I forgot to put button holes on it when I was knitting the button band, and then I went to go and choose some buttons to put on it, and I couldn't find anything that I really liked. Like it's got to be, it's is actually there's not a lot that's going to be sort of big enough and probably in a right colour or texture or like look for this. So I couldn't find anything that I really liked, so I decided not to. I think in future, if I come across some buttons that I like, I might sew them on, but then not do the buttonholes, because I'm never going to do it up, like, but I'll see. I'll see how I feel. But for now, really happy with it. It's still, like, I still haven't had a chance to wear it properly, but I can't wait for the time when I can and when I do. It's just the right amount of baggy and oversized. I'll tell you, I did the size extra small. I always print my patterns, which is really handy. I did the size extra small, which has given me about 22 centimeters of positive ease, which I think I'm really happy with that. I feel like that suits me and that suits the vibe of this cardigan. And then the additional length also, I think, adds to that slouchiness, which I rate. Thank you to everyone who said really kind things about this, and especially about the steek. Oh, that's what I was going to show you. I have decided, so the main thing people recommended and the thing that I was hoping to do for the steek was cover up the inside with like some nice ribbon to cover the raw edge of the steek. Again, I haven't really found anything that I like, or anything that's just the right width or just right. So I'll keep an eye out for it. But in the meantime, I've basically just, I'll show you. I've basically just whipped stitched using just some polyester like sewing thread. Whip stitched it down and kind of like tucked the end under and like caught it and just sewed it down, which I think has done what it needs to do in terms of tidying it up. I don't think it needed anything to sort of secure it, but just like make it look a little bit neater and tidier. Again, if the right ribbon came across my path, I think I could add it just to add like a nice additional aspect, a nice element to this, but I'm not in a rush to do that, and I think it's holding fine as it is. And it's not too bulky, which is good, because that was my main concern actually, was adding a lot of bulk at this sort of right at the front. But overall, I'm saying it's done. It's been like essentially done for like a crazy, like too long, and now it's actually done and I actually love it. I'm wrapped. Yeah, I'd be really curious. I'd really like to try more of this yarn in future, but I think probably the main challenge with this, it only comes in 200 gram hanks. So color work is not really like an option, but yeah, highly recommend if you can get your hands on some. Really, really loved it. I have one other finished object, which is it's not entirely finished because I haven't sewn it up, but this is a beanie, which I am making for a friend who's having a little boy in February. This is a bit of a hybrid pattern. I clearly haven't quite finished it. This is a hybrid pattern of the Musselburgh and the Ollie's Bear Beanie by Hannah G Knits, which I really, really love. I use the Musselburgh to cast on because I like doing top-down beanies for kids, mainly because I only ever want to use one ball of yarn, and I want to make sure that I get, like, I kind of ration my yarn correctly and appropriately. So I always do top-down, but then from there, all the numbers and the measurements and the construction, I kind of use the guide of the Ollie's Bear Beanie, which I really, really love. I've made one with ears before. I think I'm going to keep this one earless. But I really like the double fold brim, and then this is a 2x1 rib, so you have the one on the outside, which I just really like, and I like kind of the structure and like how it looks, and I just think it's really cute. Yeah, I used a superwash baby yarn called Bellissimo for this. It's kind of like the go-to baby yarn that I use, mainly because that's what's accessible for me at my local yarn store, which is Maker Maker. And I don't know, I feel like I try to choose a blue that's not too blue. I mean, it's blue, like, don't want to be that like basic, just like give boys blue things, but I think it's a little bit like lavendery, and maybe on a little girl it could also look cute in future. But yeah, so that one is essentially done, and so I can wrap that one up. But they're my two main finished objects. I've got a lot of whips. I was struck hard by that, like, it's a recurring theme I've realised, is like chaotic Christmas cast on energy. I don't know, I think I see a lot of people knitting in the Northern Hemisphere, casting on lots of Christmas things, being cozy. I don't know what it is about Christmas time, but like I have to really rein in my like instinct to just cast on everything. And I was kind of, I sort of did, but also I sort of didn't, which I don't regret at all. So my first whip is one that has had a little bit of progress. Progress is slow. And that is this guy. This is my heavily modified Cumulus T O-neck by Petite Knit. This is I'm calling this my Leontine jumper, because that's what I'm kind of directly ripping off, which is a ready-to-wear garment by the brand Suzanne. It's just so it's like the Cumulus tee or the Cumulus blouse. Not sure. The one that's knit using like fingering weight yarn, but I have added in a really deep Henley, and I'm going to do long sleeves, and I'm making it more oversized. So I think the original pattern recommends 4 centimeters of positive ease, and I've gone for, I'm probably being over 10 with this one, maybe even more. So I'm doing, normally I think I might have done like a size extra small or small, and this time I'm doing a large. But yeah, it's just going slowly, it's getting there. And I knew it was going to be a real process, and it is a real process. And I think that I just need to like get into that mindset of it'll be done when it's done, and not to rush it and not to kind of expect results. Like I kind of just need to like put this kind of in the just like constant in the background whips, rather than sort of achieving anything, because I think that's when things really, it's generally when things get the most progress, is when I'm not expecting them to, and I'm just happy to like accept that they're going to take forever. So I'm kind of getting there, probably because I've started casting on other things, so this is kind of becoming less of a priority, just because I'm not getting the instant satisfaction from this that I'm used to with chunkier knits, which is fine. I should say I am making this using the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the colour cream, and then the contrast is the colour navy. So like, again, really classic, really basic, like copying straight from the packet design, but it feels really nice. I tried it on before I went back to the body, and I really like the feel of this. It's a real pleasure to knit with, and I think it's going to be really nice to wear. Last summer I used the Knitting for Olive silk for the first time, and that was, I really disliked the feel of knitting with it, but I like the finished product. I think it's really nice to wear, but knitting with it was not super pleasant. Whereas this, the cotton merino, is absolutely really pleasant to knit with. On my metal needles, it just flies. So that's been really pleasurable. And normally I would knit the sleeves first and then go back and do the body, but with this one I really needed some runs on the board. I needed to see some like big progress. So I kind of went back to the body, which is just straight stockinette, no shaping, no counting, nothing, just because I want to see it grow, and then I'll come back to the sleeves. My other concern is I was worried I might have made these sleeves too big. I really don't like a big sleeve, especially at the cuff. I hate volume around my wrist, and so I'm kind of hesitating with the rate of decreases and how big I want the sleeve to be. I'm finding that with this, it's also going quite slowly because I'm not following a pattern essentially. Like I use the numbers for the cast on and for establishing the raglan from the Cumulus blouse, the Cumulus tee, but essentially from there I've just gone off book, so I've continued the raglan increases much further than the pattern suggested because I wanted it to be a lot more oversized. And so I find that I'm stopping when I don't know what to do, and so I'm kind of putting it aside when I have to make decisions about it, because like it's taking a lot more brain power to be like, oh, should I split the sleeves yet? Try it on, like worry about the rate. Do I need to do more at the front and back, like do more of a compound raglan? Do you know what I mean? Like once I have to make more of the decisions myself, I'm finding that it's harder to do. But that's in the scheme of things, it's not too bad. And I'm just so reluctant to knit and have to rip it out because it's so much work on it. So I'm using a 3mm needle, fingering weight yarn. It's going to be beautiful, but it's a real slog. I've done my button bands just so I could, at the front and the collar, just so I could see how they will look, and I'm really happy with those. It's too drapey but I did a half twisted rib, and I put my little buttonholes in. I haven't got buttons yet, but it took a really long time to do these, but I think overall I'm really happy with the effect. I think in hindsight, my sense is when I tried this on, I wish the Henley I'd done a little bit deeper. Like it's fine, but if I could go back in time, I might have done it even deeper. But overall, I'm really happy with this. I'm happy with the way it's turning out, and I'm excited to potentially one day have this as a finished garment. I think in the interests of like getting onto some of my other knits this year, I think I've decided that like I will knit this until the end of January, and then when it's the end of January, I'm probably going to stop, go on to some other things, start thinking about some autumn knitting, and then this will just then go really into kind of back burner territory. And because it is all stockinette, it is something that I can always just grab, but I don't want to kind of spend too much time on this and not get other things done that I really want, especially as I really want to knit in a more timely manner this year. But that is my Cumulus Leontine pullover. Oh, right. I want to show a whip that I think that I am going to rip out, and I want to show it before I do, just to kind of recognise the work that I have done and the decisions that I have come to. These socks have been on my needles since August 2024. It's like 6 months now, probably longer actually, because I remember working them in my job that I was in like June, July. These are the Dear Bjorn socks by, I can't remember who it's by, but it's a pattern from 52 Weeks of Socks, Volume 1. They've got this really cool kind of like traveling slip stitch, and they're toe up, and I'm using this incredible yarn from a dyer, like it's a hand dye from a dye called Maximoo Yarns. And I've done one sock and I have started the second one, and it's actually really cool that I don't know if this is showing, the traveling slip stitches go opposite directions, so they kind of look like they're hugging around your feet. So they look really cool, but they've been on my needles for 6+ months, and I'm just not enjoying knitting on them. I'm not really enjoying how they wear, the fit of them, and I think probably subconsciously I'm just so not into these socks, and that's what put them on. That's what's meant, like, they've stagnated so much. And like normally I don't mind having, like, I quite like having a sock project on the go, but these ones have just really killed the mojo, and for a number of reasons. The first sock that I knit it a bit too long, but then even still, like when I kind of like pull it back, the heel, I'm really unhappy. I really don't like it. Kind of has these like bunchy bits at the corners. I don't know what I've done there. It's really tight and small. one of the things actually that I noticed when I started making this pattern was it's not a size inclusive sock pattern, in that the largest size is 64 stitches and I need a much bigger sock than that, and I'm not, like, I will do at least a 72 stitch sock, sometimes an 80 stitch sock. And so, and this pattern is very kind of prescriptive because of these traveling slip stitches. It's hard to explain. Like, rather than tell you it tells you exactly how to do it and not how to apply the pattern, which means that it's quite difficult, and especially at the beginning when I didn't know what I was doing, to kind of modify the pattern, because it doesn't really give you any hints. It just tells you exactly how many stitches to do on each round. So it's like very bossy, very prescriptive, and it means that it's a harder pattern to modify at the outset. Now, having made a sock and a half, I probably might be able to kind of play with numbers a little bit more, but I'm a bit disappointed by this pattern. And yeah, so I've ended up with socks that are like, I had to go up I went up a needle size to try and like give a bit of, trying to create the room, that because I could only cast on 64 stitches when normally I'd like to do more, but it's still really tight, and then the heel doesn't fit right, and I'm just like, don't love it. And then I keep looking at the sole of the sock, which is plain stockinette, and I really like it. I keep staring at this being like, I kind of like just this, rather than like, this is cool and it's beautiful, but I think I just kind of like this. So for a multitude of reasons, I'm going to frog these, and I'm just going to knit vanilla socks instead, because that's what my heart wants. And, you know, I think it's fun to try. Like, I've got this entire book of beautiful sock patterns, but at the end of the day, if there's socks that I'm not going to wear, I'm not super, like, what's the point? And these ones have just been so painful, such a slog, and I haven't got anywhere. So I wanted to show them, and I wanted to kind of give them their time in the sun before they get frogged. But these were the real mojo killers of 2024. I've got some traveling. I've got a few trips planned this year where probably socks projects are going to be the mainstay. So hopefully I will get through some of my socks yarn stash on my travels, and that one will be first cab off the rank. My next whip is one that I think is the most ridiculous, just in terms of, you know, it's been like 40 degrees. Like, it's been really hot summer so far. It was a hot Christmas. I think it's meant to thunderstorm today, but it's been really hot. And anyway, it's been warm, but somehow I've managed to find time to cast on like a chunky fluffy Sophie scarf. And I've just really enjoyed, like, this is the brainless knitting that I needed after Christmas, and it's really grown very quickly. And I love Sophie scarves. Oh my God, too many petite knit patterns. Sorry about that. But this is just a pattern that I love. I just think garter stitch scarves are the greatest invention. I love this scarf. I've made it a few times, and now I wanted just a really big squishy white one. So I've got to the point where, I should say, I am using one strand of CaMaRose Snefnug in the colour, so Snefnug Natur in 7141 cream, with a strand of the Isager Mohair. So these are my two colours. I got to the point where exactly 2 balls of the Snefnug and 1 ball of the Mohair had been used up. So both due to change balls at the same time. And it was pretty much at a point where I was like, oh, I think I might be ready to start decreasing. So I thought, look, this is probably the sign to start to turn around and go down, because that means if I've done it right, it will use exactly 4 balls of Snefnug and exactly 2 balls of Mohair, which is deeply satisfying. So this is where I'm at. I'm sort of, yeah, I think if I call this halfway, this is the longest point. So that should be, it's gonna be too warm, but it's gonna be great. I just love Sophie scarves. I was talking to Paige about this actually, was the difference between the Sophie scarf and the Sophie shawl. And I think the main difference is only the rate of increase, which is faster on the larger shawl, so you can get more volume quickly, whereas the scarf is more like long and tapers slower to create a little bit more length out of a small amount of yarn. So I haven't actually got the pattern for the Sophie shawl, but I took a guess at what I thought the pattern rate of increase might be based on the Sophie scarf pattern that I've got. So I've gone for the shawl, assumed shawl rate of increase, but unconfirmed. But again, this is a really great one for when it's not too hot to work on. The tennis is starting, and I love watching tennis in the summer. Like when the Australian Open's on, I can just like sit and watch it for hours, and so I'm just anticipating a lot of good brainless knitting time with the tennis on. So good, such a good time of year. All right, honestly, okay, so the main reason I wanted to film this morning was because I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this before I want to talk about, it's a new cast on, and I feel like if I don't show it now, it might be a finished object soon, which is wild, but anyway. I'll start, there's a few acquisitions as part of this cast on. God, this is a real build up, isn't it? So my little brother lives in London, and he came home for Christmas, which was great. When he does come back, I normally get him to bring me some yarn or some knitting things that I can't get here because shipping or like it's just too hard to access. So when he said he was coming back, I said, great, make sure you bring an empty suitcase so that I can fill it up with stuff. One of the main things I got was this book, which is the Sandnes Garn pattern book, maybe Tema 76. The main reason I got this, I mean, the patterns in this book are just outrageous in that it's like all traditional colourworky type. Oh, it's just incredible. I mean, like, oh my God, look at this. Anyway, this is just this, like, oh my God, I love this so much. Anyway, the main reason I wanted to buy this was I saw a photograph from Sandnes Garn where they showed showed this model wearing the Mariusgenser, which is, I think, a very traditional pattern, but I think they just like reknitted it, restyled it, and she looked amazing. And I was like, I want that. I am like, just had that very visceral reaction of like, I want to own that. And so I looked around, and the Mariusgenser, from what I can tell, is like quite a common pattern by Sandnes Garn. They use it a lot, and it's in quite a few different books, and they use it in different yarns. And different sort of styles. I think they do one where it's the same design but in a yoke, but the version that I could get was in this book, and so I'm going for this guy, which is also, so the photograph that I saw was Peer Gynt, and this one is also Peer Gynt. This one's like the man's version, but it's the same, and this one is 3 colour, whereas that one is 2 colour. But it was a good opportunity to kind of essentially get the pattern and go from there. So I got that, and then because the rule that you have to get some yarn with when you buy a Sandnes Garn book is I bought 4 balls of Peer Gynt to make that. So I bought 4 balls of this like, come on, you can do it, navy colour, and I think this is just literally navy, like it's the most basic navy blue. In the pattern picture, she's wearing, I think the blue is a bit brighter and a bit more modern, but I'm not a bright modern gal really. So I kind of went for something a little bit more traditional. But she's wearing it with, I really liked the fact that it's like sort of a navy or a bright blue, and then the Gynt was the flaky tweed one, which I just really liked that combination. And I thought, I've got some yarn in stash that is very similar to that I've had for a long time, and gee, wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity to use it? So last year I bought 4 balls of this yarn, which is Bendigo Woolen Mills Woodlands 8-ply, which is got some wool and some other things in it. I can't actually remember. Do I have a label? Okay. 83% wool, 10% bamboo, 4% mohair, 3% neps. And so this is a DK weight yarn that comes in these 100 gram, 200 gram balls. Bendigo Woolen Mills is amazing. Their stuff is fantastic, really, really affordable. Ridiculous in that I bought 4 balls, and you know, I think it cost me like $70 or something to get this really, really fun yarn. I destashed, I bought way too much, and then I was like, I can't get through all of this, so I destashed it, but I kept the cream, and now I have the yarn to make a Mariusgenser for myself, which I have started. It was the middle of summer, it is the middle of summer, and I was like, you know what I need? Like a woolly, colourwork, thick, oversized jumper. I worked on this like a woman possessed. And I'm just so in love. Oh my God, I love it so much. I'm so excited. I think this is why it knit up so quickly, is because I'm like, I want to own this, I want to wear it. I want to live in a world where I can wear this all the time. I love this. So it flew, and the Gynt plus the Woodlands, and the Woodlands I feel like is a very similar feel to Gynt, has just, I couldn't help myself, I like treated myself to blocking it, and it has just, the colour, like the Gynt with the colour work has just made this like incredibly beautiful texture, and I just can't stop staring at it, and I just, oh my gosh, I'm so in love. I'm just, yeah, loved it. The pattern, I think in the style of a lot of Scandinavian patterns, is like very, very basic in that you have to work things out for yourself. And like, it's just like knit to this bit, like the whole pattern I think is like, would fit on one page, which is okay, but like it took a little bit to kind of work out at the beginning what I needed to do. Essentially, the pattern has you knit from the bottom up, and you basically knit a full whole kind of tube, and then you cast off and join the shoulders with like a 3-needle bind off, and then you go back afterwards and steek a hole for the sleeve. So like this is the shoulder, and then what I'll do is I will steek along here to cut out room to attach a sleeve, so then it becomes like a drop shoulder. I clearly have been like very emboldened by steeking to do it again so soon after doing this. The thing that I chose to do was, because I like top-down knitting, I like being able to try things on and test the length. What I did was I did a provisional, and it wants you to knit sort of bottom up, is I did a provisional cast on like just before the colour work started. I don't know if you can probably see here, and so I did a few rounds of white before I started the colour work, did all of the colour work, and then I have now gone back with the intent of now knitting down from this point to get the length that I want. I really like provisional cast-ons. I really like changing the direction of knitting to kind of suit how you want to try it on, how do you want to and like knit it, depending on the yarn quantity that you have. I think provisional cast-ons are like very underrated. But this this knit up so quickly just because I was so obsessed with it. I really like it. Like it's a small enough repeat pattern that it was kind of easy to memorize in the end. It's so woolly. It's so nice. I'm so excited. I don't know. The thing that I'm wondering is I might need to do the sleeves soon because I want to be able to try it on, because obviously at this point there's no armhole, so I can't try on and see how it sits over my shoulders. So I might go back and do a little bit more and treat myself and do more of the colour work and do the sleeves. But this is my kind of, this is what's kind of putting everything on the back burner, because when I can and when the weather permits, this is what I'm working on, and I love it. Oh my God. I have a few other acquisitions which I'll show quickly because I am out of sun time. My brother, who lives in London, got me this for Christmas as a little project bag, which is, if that's not the story of my life, I don't know what is. So that will be probably my go-to sock project bag now. I really like that. And then one thing that I got for myself was, which I got my brother to deliver for me, is I treated myself to some stitch markers from Bubbles and Berries. I've been eyeing them off for so long. I think they are the most beautiful things and I just love them. And so I thought it was finally time to like take the plunge. I don't normally use nice fancy stitch markers, but I think if there was ever a time to do it, it was with something like this. Hang on, here we go. Sorry, I'm just so like dazzled by the craftsmanship here. Can we just talk about that? Isn't that not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your entire life? Oh my God, I love them so much. I really love Aud's podcast. I really like the style of the things that she makes. I think we have like quite similar taste, and so I also really like her knitting, her reading update at the end of her podcast. But this was my little treat to myself, which my brother brought home from London, and I think I just want to start putting them on things, but they're also so beautiful. I kind of just want to look at them forever. All right. I think I'm definitely out of time now, but I really appreciate everyone who supports this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon, hopefully with Paige.
This is the swatch that I made initially, and I thought I'd get some sort of further use out of it and give this a try here before I cut into my actual sample. But what I've done is on my sewing machine, I've just done 2 lines of like quite small tight zigzag stitches. I've clearly done a very shoddy job of trying to keep them sort of straight, but I'm going to try cutting between them and just making sure that this is enough of a zigzag to really trap those stitches. But then I might try again here. So let's see how this goes. Okay, I think I really like this method because it's so quick and easy. Like the crochet chain is very neat, but this is just like 2 lines through the machine and then go between them. And like if I try and rough this one up, it's not really even doing much. So that's cool. So this is what we're working with. What I did was I sort of worked back and forth whilst working the V, like the low neck shaping, but once it had started to just be straight without any further shaping at the neckline, that's when I added this bridge of 5 stitches here and worked in the round all the way to the bottom where I started the ribbing. I cast off those and then did the ribbing flat just because it's sort of the same amount of work either way. So the plan will be to do 2 lines of zigzag stitches at the edge of this bridge and then cut between. I'm not sure how much, like, one of the things I'm wondering is how much bulk I'm going to have, given I probably erred on the side of a more generous bridge and did a 5-stitch bridge. Maybe I think that seemed sort of standard from what I could read, but I guess I'll see how much extra material or sort of seam allowance I've got after I cut it. But yeah. Oh my God, who needs cardio? That was the most stressful experience. Oh my God.